Hello, everybody. James Spilling here once again for those that love sound music and stuff. So, straight to the point, introducing Fantasy from Sonokinetic. Now, if you are familiar with Sonokinetic's orchestral phrase-based libraries, this is the latest, and the clue is in the title. It's all fantastical. It's fantasy, sort of themey, elvishy thing. Like. What I have done is I've used this instrument to finish off my track to this picture, The Wanderer with the Gun. So this is part 3 of that sort of little mini series that I've done. So the first instrument I used was Damage, the second was a synth Electro 3, and this is Fantasy Sonokinetic, just giving the icing on the cake, giving it that sort of orchestral texture finish, if you like. I thought it worked. So what I will do, as today's video is really all about Sonokinetic's Fantasy, I will take you through this fabulous instrument, show you what it sounds like, and show how much fun you can have with it. Then I will show you how I added it to the track, and I'll show you the final mix, the final bounce down, and all of that at the very end. Shall we get on with Fantasy? Here we go, Fantasy Sonokinetic. So a little bit of explanation, folks, just so you're aware. Today is a different day, as you can probably tell by what I'm wearing. What I ended up doing after the intro that you've just seen is recording the Fantasy walkthrough and then the track walkthrough. But then, like the muggins that I am, I forgot to turn this on for the Fantasy walkthrough. So what you're going to get is the Fantasy walkthrough from me, wearing this, and the track walkthrough, me looking younger in something else. By a few days. Anyway, let's get on with it, shall we? Right, so Fantasy, there's one NKI. Let me just explain how you get sound out of these phrase-based libraries. The blue section in the keyboard roll, you have to play a triad. So I'm going to play a triad. And you'll see in here on the left-hand side, it tells you what chord you're playing. I'm playing A minor, B minor. That's just a triad. So, and it also recognizes inversions. Yeah. So, yep. Etc. Now, the orange section above the blue, I'm going to press F, are your phrases. And they stem from C3 all the way to B4. So, C3. And each box, as it were, is one of the phrases. Yeah, and they have little squiggles to show you what the phrase looks like on sort of sound thing. Anyway, and you can play more than one phrase at a time. You can play all 12 if you like, but here's some. And that's just one chord. What you do is you basically pick some phrases and change chords around it. Yeah. Just above on the yellows, these are variations in themes. So if you pick a phrase that's got a little sort of snowflake star, means that it has a variation. So if we press this one, this is a phrase without any variation. And then if you press the same phrase and then trigger one of the variation keys, you get this. Do it again. Can you hear that? And that applies to every single phrase that you will see with snowflakes on. So that one doesn't have one. That one doesn't have one. That one doesn't have one. That one does. That's the phrase. Yeah, it just changes it ever so slightly. And then in the green down here are the Harmonic Shift buttons. Now, Harmonic Shift, I would recommend you watching one of the Sonokinetic tutorials because it'll go into more detail than I will ever go into. But let me just explain one thing before we get there. I'll explain all of this in a minute. But one thing that is interesting. So we like this phrase. So if you look up here, look at the sort of the pie chart, the diagram. This is to do with partner phrases. Now, if you press this, what it's going to do, if you press this, it's going to put in phrases that work with this phrase, partner phrase, that you can play at the same time, and they're going to sound awesome, or even more awesome. It's almost like a preset. So if you watch, once I've pressed this beyond the F, so probably going to F sharp, G, maybe G sharp, maybe A, see how many partner phrases there are. Press that. So it goes up to G sharp. So here's the F. They all work very nicely together. They are partnered. Now, let me explain harmonic shift. I'm going to turn the volume of this one up a bit. You see this one? And I'm going to turn the just down a bit. So you've got the strings and I've got the woodwinds. Now, what I'm going to do is, we're playing a G major chord. Let's pick the strings. I want this woodwinds to change chord, but I don't want the strings to. How do we do that? What we do is we go to this plus and minus, which indicates that this phrase can harmonically shift. And we turn it off. Okay, by default it is on. This means that if I start moving these, which are these green keys, the harmonic shift keys, which are essentially the chords on each degree of the scale. So you can add sevenths that way and interesting and tensions and elevenths and all of that. So these strings aren't going to shift. Look, I could go up a third. No, not going to shift. But I want my woodwind to shift. And I want them to go up, I don't know, a third. Yeah. To C. So if I wanted, let's say, the seventh, I'd probably go to B minor. So is that... That'll be like a G7, wouldn't it? Isn't that cool? And I like this. So I'm now going to have the other partner phrases in there. Let's get the woodwind to not change. We'll get the percussion to change and the horns to change, but the are not going to change. Ready? These are the strings and woodwinds. And then let's, I don't know, go up a second for the others. All together. If it was all in one chord, it'd be this. But I'm going up a second for the horns and percussion. Isn't that cool? So harmonic shift is a really fun little tool to play with. So let's go back to strings and let me show you exactly what's going on the GUI. This is purge on and off effectively. This little moustache is the mod wheel. It looks like one of those old mod wheels if you haven't got a touch thing. And this is volume to... Yeah, turn it off. It won't be affected. Yeah, so you can have some phrases mod wheel affected. ITM, intelligent tempo mapping, a tempo mapping to your DAW tempo. So it thinks it wants to do that because I'm at 120. If I go, that's normal, one speed, double speed. Well, that's very silly, half speed. Yeah, not great, is it? I think they're all recorded at something like 130. So if you go too far away from there, you're going to get some sort of, weird stuff happening. As we said, the plus and minus is the harmonic shift. Now this is the score. This tells you exactly what is being played. Violin ones, violin twos, and all of that. So this last bar, I think, is the variation, is it? This is how it is. Let me trigger the variation. Yeah, I think it was. With the F sharp. Yes, so you can drag all of these. You can pick exactly what you want. Drag them out so that you've got another instrument playing exactly what's written on this. But you would have to, and be warned, you have to pick what you want here before you do so. Yeah, so, major, minor, and then pick your key. And all of that. How exciting is that? This is to do with the phrases in just 1 second. This is the offset. I think you can go back and forward eighth notes. Yeah, so if you want to try and line up some phrases exactly, They should be lined up there pretty well. So this is the crossfade between phrases when you change chord. If it was low, it'd be quite sudden, I expect. Yeah, so I generally crossfade it a bit. Panning, volume, and the release volume. So when you take your finger off. No release. We don't want that linked. Unlink it. It's all very sudden. Let's turn the release on. And you have a nice little tail. Now, how to find a phrase. Here, click it, and you get all of this. Strings, woodwinds, brass, percussion. You have all of these subheadings. Wizardry, flight, elvish. We like elvish, let's go elvish. And in order to test one, you just press the speaker icon. I'm going to just change this because the sun's out. Bit of a spooky elf. That sounds like a Wagnerian elf. Anyway. The elf's got home. The elf is Pocahontas. Sorry. Forest. Yeah, let's just try some woodwinds. Waterfall. I mean, yeah, I hope you'll agree that they all sound pretty fabulous. Some brass. Let's go majestic. And look, it even shows you if they've got variations. They've got the little snowflake on some of these. Some haven't. Bloom. Nice. This would be pitched percussion. Flight. Lovely. I do like the Sonokinetic thing of making it look like the phrase. Anyway, so you have so many phrases to choose from. Now let's stick with, I don't know, woodwinds, forest. And if you want that one, just click it and it's gone there. Yeah, and we are on, what are we on? G sharp. And we're playing an A minor. Now, these little buttons here determine the next phrase in the category. So this is still... So we're still the woodwinds forest, yeah? Next one. Just to check, it's that look. The next one will look squiggly if we are on that one. Yeah, this swirly whirly is probably my favorite button. It's the random button. Press it, you'll get something random. And just to remind you, if you look at this pie thing, it does tell you if you've got partner phrases above it or not. This has got a partner phrase, so look above the G sharp, see how many go. 1. Yeah. And again, random. Let's partner phrase that. Bit of strings. So woodwinds and strings. Very, very nice. Let me just say that if you press the question mark, it tells you what everything does. It's very handy. Also, if you're in contact, just hover over anything and it tells you at the very bottom what it does. Very, very helpful. Now, these beach balls right at the bottom, they're more random options. If you don't want to random from instrument to instrument, you can select. Press this one, and it will random everything to brass. Yeah, so I'm going to do 3 of them. They're all brass. If I do random this one, it's all pitch percussion. This is a whole mix match. This is strings. So green strings, I always get confused because I always imagine strings are blue, but the Sonokinetic blue is woodwind. This is all woodwind. So this one, I think, has a partner phrase that will be brass. Because it's orange, if you saw that. As with Sonokinetic, if you press one of the letter, I think it randomizes everything. So it's probably N to D, A, no, S. It's Y. Yeah, another little quirk. And you have the mic options. Here we go. Of which are brilliant because if you just bring them down, they purge from the memory. So it really helps. So let's go close. Close, these are the deckers. Wide. And then balcony. Isn't that really, really nice? So let's just... Oh, that's really, really nice. One other thing that I almost forgot. These red key switches down at the bottom are basically the phrase continue and the bar sync. Let's pick a phrase. So, and they're velocity sensitive, by the way. So if we just turn them off. So if I were to change chord. And every single time I change chord, it's always gonna start the phrase again. Whereas if this one is activated, if I press this and change chord before the phrase has changed, it's going to finish the phrase. Yeah? You get the idea. I'll do. Let's do this one. Let's turn the crossfade on. So let's just remind you if I have it off. Yeah, I mean, it's not a very good example, but anyway, the bar sync is on your MIDI roll. If it's off and you have on your MIDI roll, you have the phrase starting at beat 1, it's going to start at beat 1. If you have it at beat 3, the phrase will start at beat 3. However, if you have it on and you move the, as it were, the MIDI note to beat 3, it will start the phrase at beat 3 of the phrase, if you see what I mean. So it's one of those things that you can just sort of, instead of offsetting the phrase, you can literally just move it around. So lots of control. So I think I'm now going to pass you over to a younger version of myself wearing something else. Can't even remember, probably an old shirt, to take you through the track where I've used this. So folks, this is the track, and this is what I had so far. To remind you, for those that have seen the previous two, and for those that haven't seen the previous two, what I've got is a whole load of Electra 3 synth tracks and a whole load of Uncharted 88 Damage by Heaviosity. Let me show you the Damage tracks, which are this lot. That's all the Damage. So this is them. That's what we've got. And then this is all my Electra. Now, I've also put a kick in there from Electra, and this is just Electra. And together with Damage. So it's an angry heroic track. Anyway, and so what I wanted to do with Fantasy is I just wanted to give it that sort of hybridy orchestral texture, that sort of sprinkling, if you like. This is what I had, and I sort of tried to make my life as easy as possible, and I like to do things quite quickly, so I actually just used one instrument. And this is my instrument. So what I did is I found the phrases that I liked. I just sort of, as it were, mapped it out on this MIDI roll. As you can see at the bottom are the equivalent of the blue section where my chords are. And on the top, all those are triggering the phrases, some at the same time. And this is what it's like. Let's go from here. See the various ones being triggered. It's fantasy. I really do like Sonokinetic for the fact that you can get things so quickly done, and it's just, it always sounds good, and you can mix and match libraries. I mean, you've got Grosso, you've got Capriccio, you've got Maximo, you've got Sotto, indie, and all of these things, and they're all recorded in the same place, and so you can mix and match. So that's basically what I did, and because I wanted a little bit more control, I bounced them down into strings, woodwind, tuned percussion, and brass, and they were here. I muted a couple if they didn't really fit that much. So let's just play. I don't know, where was that? Yeah, and in the track, it sounds, I think, sort of texturally fun. So there you have it. You've got a little bit of orchestral fantasy magic stuff sprinkling over the synth and damage track. I like it. So let's play you the whole track, shall we? This is the picture. This is the heroics. It's grungy, it's loud, it's heroic, and it's sort of got that darkness under it, with a bit of elven frivolity on the top. Anyway, I'll shut up. Here we go. Here's the track. There's a lot going on. Kind of busy. So look, it might be that if I decide to try and publish this, I'll probably clean this up. And the fact that there's a lot going on, I might scale it down a bit, but that might be for another video, part 4 of actually how to improve the rubbish mix. Anyway, that's not the point. The point was to show fantasy over this noise, and if you're a fan of Sonokinetic, you're going to love this. Right, thank you so much for watching, everybody. If you like this, if you like what I do, please like away, please subscribe away, ring the bell, and you'll be notified of anything else I do in the future. Stay well, everybody. Stay safe. Keep enjoying the sound, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.